1997. What a year to be a senior in high school. I think I've said that a bunch over the numerous videos we've done. 1997 was a great year for wrestling. Our guest here today, he added to the lore of the 1997 state final. Sir, if you would, tell us who you are.
My name's Jared Combs. I wrestled at Scott High School, and I represented the 171 weight class.
I was going to say 171 pounds. We'll go over who all we've got from 97 on the channel here just in a little bit. And if I say Covington Scott, I know a lot of, like we done Tony Stewart's, and every time I would say it, he'd kind of be like, and I guess you guys are just used to calling it Scott, but those not from the area, and especially those new to the review series, new to the channel, in Kentucky, we have Scott County High School, and we have Scott High School. So I try to make sure that on the videos, I make sure to differentiate Covington Scott and Scott County because we want to make sure everybody gets their just due. So you are not counting, rest in peace to Jason Davio, 2001 state champion from Covington Scott. We done his memorial video with Nick Spatola, and we've also done Tony Stewart's 96 video. Tony got me and you hooked up, so Tony, thank you for the state champion, not the NASCAR driver, for hooking us up. I really appreciate that, Tony. So, Jared, man, the standard question we start everybody off with here on the channel is, what gets you into wrestling, man? How do you find it?
Well, I had always been kind of an athletic young man, and I started watching wrestling on TV. And then when I realized that there was an actual sport kind of loosely, based upon that, I was very intrigued. And I wish I could have wrestled when I was very, very young, but we didn't have the opportunity. There was just no youth wrestling when I was a child. And when I was in middle school, I definitely wanted to be on the wrestling team. However, we didn't have a middle school team, and there was the option to wrestle up at the high school level. Yeah, there was a certain amount of hazing that didn't appeal to me. I didn't like the idea of there not being accountability with the older kids and picking on the younger kids. So that kept me from wrestling on the high school team. And then sure enough, when I was in high school, we got a little bit hazed when I was a freshman year, and I can look back on that and think that it made me tougher. But that just kind of that was part of our tradition and part of our team there at Scott. Not one of my proudest traditions,
Yeah, I was going to say, now, when you say hazing, was it, and I see the dog wants to be a part of the video. Hi, doggy. I don't know what his name is, but I'm sure everybody will. This will be one of the most popular videos now that we got a dog in the shot. Everybody loves dogs now. I don't know what it is. But when you say hazing, do you mean as in like physical? Because we know that is wrong. That should never happen.
Oh, sure.
Or are you talking like older seniors, juniors, people like that saying, "You will never make it. You don't belong here"? What are we talking about?
Well, both.
Okay.
There was both physical abuse and verbal abuse. It didn't help to necessarily cultivate a good team spirit, but
yeah.
I remember a couple of guys that were all state wrestlers told me when I was a freshman one time. I told them, I said, well, if I work really hard, I've never wrestled before, but by the time that I become a senior, if I work as hard as I can, I'm going to win the state championship. And they both laughed at me and they said, Jared, if you work as hard as you can between now and the time you're a senior, you'll be lucky to place in the state tournament. And I can look back on that moment and say that it really motivated me and compelled me to be the person that I am and to overachieve in the sport of wrestling.
Every good villain in the Marvel comic universe has an origin story. Every good hero in the Marvel comic universe has an origin story. So that sounds like that was your origin story of getting on top of the podium in 1997. But before we go over your bracket, before we watch your match video, let's talk about the history of Covington Scott state champions. The first state champion was Tim Vaughn in 1987. Then our buddy Tony Stewart in 96. Of course, you in 97. Also on that team, Mike Fields from 97. So Mike Fields, if you're watching this, man, reach out to me. I'd love to have you. 1998, Clint Bell. 1998 and 1999, Dylan Bell. So Clint and Dylan, reach out. I've got all your match videos. We said at the beginning, rest in peace to Jason Davio, two-timer 2000, 2001. And then the latest Covington Scott State champion is Brennan Pye at 2019. And I've also got the kind of the top Covington Scott team placements. 96 as a team, you guys come in 5th place. And then your senior year, 97, you guys come in 3rd. And then 98, I guess a year after you was already long gone, they come in team runner-ups. They come in behind St. Xavier. So pretty good tradition there, man, in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s of individuals and getting your team in the state placement there. A lot of great wrestling in the northern Kentucky area. You know, your Campbell County, your Simon Kenton, your Rowells, you guys, Connor, Boone County. This week go on and on with the names, but there's just it's a great little pocket up there, man. Those 3 counties right back to back to back, Boone, Kenton, and Campbell. Just a lot of great wrestling, and especially nowadays, so many youth programs, so many middle school and club teams and high schools all are popping up now. Girls teams are now more prevalent than they ever have been now that we're sanctioning girls wrestling. But let's talk about your junior year. That was the 1996 year. And unfortunately, you ran into Tendai Charasika, 3-timer from St. Xavier. That match video is on the channel. And unfortunately, that match ends with a injury default. You had to take 3 injury timeouts there in the bout. And, of course, we know the 3rd injury time terminates wrestling. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it was a shoulder. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd separated my shoulder there in that match, very, very early on in that match.
So now let's get your side of it. So do you remember, like, the exact moment that it popped out, or could you feel it? Or walk us through that if you don't mind.
Tendai level changed on me and had my arm trapped and landed up on top of my right shoulder. And when he did, it took it out joint.
Okay. All right. And was it instant, like you knew this is it?
Oh yeah. I mean, there was a lot of pain. Okay.
I got you. We just, like I said, that's the beauty of this, is getting both sides of it, hearing all accounts of what went on, because for so long, something that I've learned in doing this is there are certain years, certain matches, certain individuals, not just Tendai, but across the years from 1964 to present. Today is the first day of November 2024. There's so many, what's the old telegraph, tell a wrestler, the stories, how they get bigger over the years, how, this person pinned 15 people in the same bout and, won it with, his head decapitated and all. You hear everything in the world, but it's good that you had another year of that, because I'm sure that's not the way you wanted it to go out, correct?
No, of course not. I mean, you want to win a state championship, and you set out with that goal to win a state championship, and you get right there on the cusp, and to not be able to give it a full match was pretty devastating for me. And I would say that was also very, very motivating for me to go back and to rehab and to continue to get better.
And we've got the origin story now in the state championship review comic universe of how you knew you could get on top of the podium, and now this is the final act when the Avengers mount up. And all right, Thanos, you may have got me last time, but daggone it, I'm getting all the Infinity Stones, right?
That's right.
So there's a lot of we get a lot of traction on the channel, a lot of views, a lot of people are really engaged with the channel, especially the high school age wrestlers, middle school, elementary, even guys that have long been out of school. Uh, when you get back in, did you play football or any other sports there in school, or were you just wrestling only? Or
No, I played football and I played soccer before I played football.
okay,
So yeah, I was definitely always in other, team sports, but wrestling, brought the best out of me. I really enjoyed the individual aspect of wrestling and how you
I
could
got you. I
dictate.
guess let me rephrase that, Your Honor. When you get back into the wrestling mentality, whether you're still playing football or maybe you get beat in the playoffs or whatever the case was. However, whenever it come time before you even stepped in the mat room, but you knew, okay, wrestling season's coming. What was the mental message you were telling yourself? What was it that got you from taking an injury default in the year before to, I don't want to ruin it on how you win this bout, but got you to where you were with an undefeated season coming in and winning a state championship? What was like the thought process? What was the mental rehearsal that got you there?
Well, when I was a freshman and they used to host the state tournament at Louisville Atherton High School, I
Yep.
can remember watching a couple of kids that won and the jubilation of accomplishing your goals, and the hugs from the coach. And I just remember that being very nostalgic, and me thinking, oh, I want to be that. I want to have that someday.
Yeah. And speaking of that, we have several videos. I guess it would be from your freshman and the 94 state tournament and 95 state tournament on the channel. Bruce Stepp, the heavyweight from Sheldon Clark, Sean Smith, 95, Jason Talbot, 94, Grady Peterson. We have a lot of guys on the channel that you would probably remember watching their match that we got to do review videos with. So, man, make sure you check that out. So, you come into that 97 season. Is 171 pounds kind of your natural weight? Did you have to cut a lot?
Well, I weighed about 180 in the low 80s, and
Okay.
then I would cut weight. I would bring salad dressing with me to school, and I would eat from the salad bar at lunch, and I would, miss a meal here and there. And, we didn't have, I didn't have weight cutting down to a science, but
Mm,
I learned the hard way how to decrease your calories in order to, shrink down to fill in your weight class.
I got you. I completely. And the one of the, I'm working on where I also have on the series like a countdown of like top 14 this, top 14 that. And I'm working on a video, top 14 best rule changes for the sport of wrestling. And I think number one is going to be, I'm torn between a possible number one, but it's either going to be number one or number two, is how much better now weight cutting, weight tracking, weight management is now as opposed to what it even was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Because, man, to hear some of the dudes we've had on the channel cut, 15, 20 pounds in a week or try to cut that much to get down, like that is not healthy for a teenage body to be doing. I could see maybe 5 or 6 in a week, eat pretty good on Sunday, Monday, cut down if your body's used to it, especially like you said, you 180s know how to cut your weight down, get to 171. But when you're cutting that much 15, 20 pounds in a week, that's a lot. It's not worth it.
Practice. One of the things in coaching that I've realized is that when you have kids that are cutting weight and sucking weight like that real hard, it really it depletes them during practice, and it prevents them from getting the most out of their practice because they're exhausted from no glucose in their blood.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. I 100,000,000% agree with you. Let's talk though about your 97 state tournament. You start off with a 1 minute and 17-second fall over Mike Fannin from Johnson Central. You get to the quarters. You're wrestling Ricky Thompson from Louisville Southern. You win that. It doesn't say it, but I'm going to have to imagine it was a tech fall because it says 20-5. Was it a tech fall?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just want to make sure. You get to the semis. You wrestle Brandon Graves from St. Xavier. You win that by a 12-4 decision. Brandon goes on to get third place that year. You're coming into the state finals with a record of 43-0. That's a pretty daggone good record. And you're wrestling Travis Bowman from Central Hardin. Of course, you're a senior. Travis is a junior. Travis's record is 28-3. Had you wrestled Travis before this?
Yeah, Travis and I had competed twice, and I had tech falled him 2 times previously in that season.
All right. Now, I say it in every video we've done at the dungeon, and I'm going to keep saying it just because it was so cool. But 96, man, first year at the dungeon, under the lights, the main mat, complete different change of what it was in 95 at Atherton. Just, you felt like this, you knew this was a big event. Whether you knew anything about the sport, you could take somebody that had never seen a wrestling event before, put them in there and say, oh my God, what is this? This means something. So you're back in it again, under the lights, after you win that semifinals match, knowing, okay, last year didn't end the way I wanted it to, but I've got a shot at redemption. Do you go back and go to your hotel room? What do you do during that time period between after you win and before the finals?
Well, rest. That year, and Travis was a really good wrestler, but Brandon, the kid that I wrestled in the semifinals, he was the next best kid in that weight class. So once I had beat him in the semis, I knew that state title was just a matter of me going out and getting it done, because Travis, like I said, he was a good wrestler, but he had showed me much that year to show me that, we were on the same level.
No, hey, man, that is a completely respectable mentality, because sometimes, doing this series, I've refereed this coming in. This will be my 19th season of officiating, and sometimes you can just tell when somebody's on another level, and you can tell that they know they're on another level. Just off top of my head, Cole Thomas from Morale, refereeing him, he was on a 4-timer. He was on another level. Austin Myers from Campbell County, 4-timer. He was on another level. I'm just thinking of Northern Kentucky guys I've got to officiate. And even sometimes, if they're wrestling somebody is a first year JV or whatever, they don't have enough spots to fill, you'll kind of, hey, be easy on this kid. Be easy right here. Nothing crazy. And they'll lift them up. You're like, easy down, man, easy down. So there's nothing wrong with having the mentality of, I know I can win this match. I know I can win. If I wrestle my best, this person is not going to beat me. And that's the beautiful part about wrestling. It's mano a mano. It's the most fair way to settle something in high school athletics. Football team, somebody could drop a pass. Basketball, somebody could miss a shot. Baseball, your pitcher could be having. But if you don't win in wrestling, there's a 99.8.5% chance it's probably your fault. And I'll leave a 0.008% chance it falls on the referees. You just, I can't shut us out all the way. So has it been a while, man, since you've seen your match video?
Oh yeah. It's probably been, not to date myself, but 25, 30 years, Alex.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I believe it, as of this filming, it should have been about 27 years ago. So we've got the face-off, the match, and the medal ceremony, man. So for those of you that never got to attend the dungeon, what you're looking at here, of course, is the main floor, the main mat. And before the main mat was set up like this, we had 4 mats going. Kind of use your imagination. One was over here to our left, like where that tunnel is. Another one was butted up right up against the seats, kind of like a 12, 3, 6, and 9, like a clock. And of course, we bring this main mat to the center, and the lights would come down, the music would pump, all that kind of stuff. You guys would line up. Only for 2 years did we do the lineups. 98 on, we ran out and done, the handshake from behind where the practice mat was. But I'm excited to get it going, man. Let's do it. We turned down a little bit. The place was loud. I had to leave this in because it's just so cool to see,
Hopefully they'll get to compete there again. I'm not a real big fan of the horse dirt that they wrestle on.
Unfortunately, this building no longer exists. So.
Oh, it's gone?
Yeah, they demolished it about 10 years ago in Frankfurt.
That's sad.
Yeah, man. The jock jams pumping.
Yeah. What a great atmosphere to wrestle at.
There you guys are, man. And here comes the match video. All right, so right out of the gate, man, he's taking it to you and gets an early takedown.
Alex, that's one of the only times I was taken down all year. Travis went out there and took it to me right there on the spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say he comes out, man, like a house of fire, and you get a reversal pretty quick, but it has to be a shock to the system. Like, oh my gosh, yeah. This guy's bringing it to me.
Yeah. I knew that he was there to wrestle once that happened.
Absolutely. And right here, when I was watching it, he's scooting his hips around, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's he doing here? But you're working, looks like a power half of some type, like maybe even a guillotine style move. Then you transition right here to a head and arm, and once you get here, man, if somebody 171 pounds, you guys are studs. That's a lot of weight to be trying to get off your chest if you're on the bottom.
It's a real.
You're doing what you're supposed to.
I've been there on bottom plenty of times in my career, Alex, and that's a really miserable place to try to fight off your back.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of us have. Count me in that number. You're keeping your butt off the ground. You're up on your feet like you're supposed to, making him carry all your weight. There it is. You get the fall. I believe it was a minute and 16 seconds into the bout. You finished with a 44-0 record.
Yes, sir.
And there you are getting your medal and your bracket. There's Brandon to your left, or right, I should say. And that's where it ends, man. You didn't play around this year. You come out, you made a statement, you got the fall in the first period. Had to feel good to complete that goal, right?
It felt really good. It was the product of a lot of years of hard work and a lot of extra things, a lot of, sacrifices that I made.
Absolutely.
to close the gap, because that's something I wanted from early on. And I wanted to, to do everything in my possible, from eating right and doing the extra stuff and running and camps and everything I could to ensure that I would be at the top of the podium that year.
Yeah, man. And I can only imagine somewhere you had to have in the thought process, for those guys that said I would never be here, I hope you're here watching me, right?
Oh, they knew.
Okay, I was going to say,
they were aware of my career and after they graduated and the success that I had.
Hey, man, sometimes that's the best form of payback.
You got that right. Now,
Those 1997.
guys know who they are.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, you know who you are. We're not here to drop names, but
That's right.
you know who you are. Now, 1997 was a great year. I said in the onset of the video. Let's go over just who we've got on the channel so far. Our buddy Dan Carmen from Henry Clay. Not sure if you remember Dan or not.
Good guy.
Dan's on the channel. Josh Priest from Sheldon Clark. Our buddy Chris Dunn went on to be a three-timer from Woodford County. Of course, Woodford County wins the team title this year. Jeremy Rhodes from Sheldon Clark. Joe Carr Jr., four-timer from Woodford County. Ian Horn, three-timer from Woodford. David Moore, our buddy from Henry Clay. Justin Sainer from Campbell County. And of course, I think the highlight of 97 was Livingston Merritt and his backflip at the heavyweight. You remember that?
Oh, for sure. He was a 215, wasn't he?
He was heavyweight.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, heavyweight. And a funny story about that is Livingston, we done his 90, I think it was his 96, 97 video there at the state tournament, the night before the state tournament, I should say, in 2022 when I started the series. And he's an assistant coach now for Christian County, and his team had never saw him wrestle. So I made sure we got them all in the room there and put the video on, and they didn't know what happened at the end of it. And his team, man, whenever he hits the backflip, they all jump up. We had to watch it again. It was awesome. It was one of the best moments on the channel. It was cool for his wrestlers to see that hey, maybe not now, but at one time, Coach could do it. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
He was a bad mamma jamma. Livingston was.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Him and his cousin. You may remember Miguel Merritt as well. Those two dudes, man, were bad news all the way around. And like I said, though, man, 97 was just a great year of wrestling. And I think you said earlier you were a fan of professional wrestling. So who was your I was not so much anymore, but growing up, man, I loved, the 80s and the early 90s. Up until I started wrestling in school, I was such a big fan. It was crazy. But who was your favorites growing up, man?
Oh, I used to love wrestling from the Macho Man and Hulk Hogan, and I used to love Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Hillbilly Jim.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was such a great time. You know what I mean? And especially in 97 because you had, both of the promotions at ECW, WCW, WWF. They were all massive ratings, venues selling out, hottest it had ever been. You had Steve Austin, The Rock, all these just massive names that were just selling out arenas and selling merchandise like it was crazy. Who knows how much revenue they brought in. And I know from this medium that we've created here with the review series is it's okay to mix one wrestling with the other. It's okay to do that. And here's what I mean is the not necessarily watching the matches on TV or whatever, but my favorite part growing up as a kid was watching the interviews, the promos. And I would stand in my bedroom by myself and I had a mirror there in my bedroom, and I would just stand there for hours just practicing, being the announcer. I had like my own little microphone. I'm here today with, Hulk Hogan, and I'd switch over. I'd practice, and I would do that for hours. And I guess that's why I like doing this so much is because that's what engaged me as a kid. And when you see people out nowadays with this, and everybody wants to, after we've done their video, they want to like cut a promo. It's a good thing you weren't there in 1997. I would have pinned you. You wouldn't. And I'm like, that. It's okay to be able to combine both. You know what I mean? I think that's what draws people in. Is
they're different. One's for entertainment and one's actually a sport. And I guess there was a point in time when I was younger that professional wrestling, I'm a real wrestler, but you just have to understand that there's values and, for each, you know what I mean? They each serve a very different purpose.
And I can tell you from looking at the analytics on this, on my channel, the more entertaining the video is, the more entertaining the person is, the bigger talker they are, the bigger personality, the more views that the video. That's just a fact of life. So I try to make all my videos as entertaining as possible. Some people aren't really talkers or have that type of personality. They're just a good wrestler, and I try to make it on my end as best as I can. But sometimes you just know when to kind of move out of the way and let their personality come through, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I remember so and so." Yeah, da, 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 da. Kind of like with Livingston's backflip. That was just so organic, but everybody talks about it. No matter where I go, everybody wants to do a backflip. So, Jared, man, before we wrap this up, like I said earlier, we know a lot of wrestlers, wrestling teams watch the videos. Speak to the current students, the current wrestlers. Is there anything you'd like to add, say, take away on your journey, whether it's in school, out of school, what you've learned coaching, that way you could pass on, that way the next generation has it?
Well, Alex, one of the things that I've learned through wrestling, and I went on later to compete as a professional mixed martial artist, but one of the things I really love about wrestling is that you can practice, and through the art of repetition, you can beat guys that you're physically inferior athletically to, that you're slower than, that you're not as strong as. But if you know the technique and you practice something to the point of muscle memory, then you can win and have your hands raised against guys that are athletically superior to you. And that's something that gives me such a charge to see the kid that's not athletic or maybe a little bit chunky go out there and put it on a kid that's, like I said, much better and much more talented. That's ultimately a really, a cool, thing to see.
And I think your dogs agree with you on that, so I'm gonna have to go with the dogs. Good job there. So, man, great advice. How long were you an MMA fighter?
I competed as a professional fighter for about 5 years.
No kidding.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool, man.
I was 8-4 as a pro, and I never went and sacrificed my athletic integrity in high school, college, or when I went on to compete as a professional fighter. And that's one of the things that I can look back on and really hang my hat on. And
we're not going to elaborate on that, but you and I both know what you mean by that.
Absolutely.
Some things are best left unaired. They're to be personal conversations. That's all we're gonna say about that one. So, Jerry, man, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. And before
Alex,
we wrap it up,
thank you for having me on your podcast, my friend.
Oh man, anytime. Dylan Bell, Clint Bell, and Mike Fields. Please if you watch this, please reach out to me. I'd love to get you guys on the channel. I have your match videos. We'd love to add you to the review series and let the world see just what Covington Scott had going on back in the late 90s. You guys were the show pretty much. So that's all that we have. Thank you all for watching. We will see you guys and girls on the mats.
Thank you, guys.